The council chamber was silent. Too silent. High Chancellor Morvan looked at the empty seats around the massive circular table. Half of the representatives were missing. Some were dead. Others had fled with their people to the far edges of the galaxy. The hologram in the center of the room showed the truth that no one wanted to speak aloud. Red dots covered the map like a disease. Each dot was a star system consumed by the hive. Each dot had been home to billions of lives. Now they were nothing but empty space and debris. "Sector 7 has fallen," General Thex announced. His voice was flat, emotionless. He had given this report too many times. "We lost another fleet, 300 ships. They didn't even slow the hive down." Morvan closed his eyes. 300 ships, tens of thousands of soldiers, gone in less than a day. "How long until they reach the core worlds?" someone asked. 6 months, Thex said. "Maybe less." The room erupted. Voices shouted over each other. Some demanded they fight harder. Others wanted to negotiate. A few suggested running to another galaxy entirely. Morvan raised his hand. The room fell quiet again. "We have tried everything," he said slowly. "Our weapons don't work well enough. Our tactics fail against them. They adapt too quickly. They consume too fast." He paused. "Does anyone have any ideas we haven't tried?" Ambassador Vextal stood up. He was old even by his species' long lifespan. His scales were gray instead of green, but his eyes were sharp. "There is one option," he said quietly. "The old texts mention them. The legends speak of them." "Legends won't save us," Thex growled. "Maybe not," Vextal agreed. "But what if the legends are real?" He tapped his datapad. The hologram changed. Now it showed an image of a creature standing upright on 2 legs. It had no scales, no fur, no natural armor. It looked soft, weak. "What is that?" someone asked. "A human," Vextal said, "from the lost world called Terra or Earth. The old records say they once had contact with our ancestors thousands of years ago. Then they disappeared. Most think they went extinct. Some believe they never existed at all." "Children's stories," Thex said dismissively. "Myths to scare young ones into behaving." "Perhaps," Vextal continued. "But the myths say interesting things. They say humans could survive anywhere, that they fought wars among themselves for thousands of years, that they never gave up, no matter the odds. That they were adaptable above all else. Even if they were real," Morvan said carefully, "why would they help us? We abandoned them. We left them alone in the darkness." "Because the distress beacon we sent out 3 months ago went in all directions," Vextal said, "including toward the coordinates where Terra was supposed to be. If anyone is there, they heard our call." 3 months and no answer," Thex said. "They're dead, or they don't exist. Either way, we're wasting time." Morvan was about to agree when an aide burst into the chamber. "Chancellor, we have a ship approaching the station. It just came through a wormhole. We've never seen this design before." The hologram changed again. Now it showed a vessel unlike any in the Council database. It was smaller than most warships, but moved with purpose. Its hull was smooth metal, marked with symbols in an unknown language. "Hail them," Morvan ordered. Static filled the chamber. Then a voice came through, speaking in perfect Council standard language. "This is the Terran vessel Wanderer. Commander Jiho speaking. We received your distress call. We're here to help." The chamber exploded into chaos. Voices shouted in disbelief, joy, and fear. Morvan stared at the ship on the hologram. Humans were real. They had come. "Permission to dock, Chancellor?" Jiho's voice was calm, patient. "Granted," Morvan managed to say. "Welcome to Unity Spire." 2 hours later, the doors to the Council chamber opened. Everyone fell silent. They wanted to see what a real human looked like. Commander Jiho walked in first. He was shorter than most species in the room. His skin was tan, his hair black and cut short. He wore a simple uniform of dark blue. Behind him came three others. A woman with long black hair and a tight braid, introduced as Dr. Hyerin. A younger woman with alert eyes, Lieutenant Dayun. And a man with quick hands, Engineer Sunwoo. They looked so ordinary, so fragile, so disappointing. Jiho seemed to sense the mood. He smiled slightly. "I know we're not what you expected," he said. "The legends make us sound bigger than we are." "Can you fight?" Thex asked bluntly. "Can you stop the hive?" "We don't know," Jiho answered honestly. "We've never fought the hive before. But we've fought plenty of other things. We've survived ice ages. We've survived plagues. We've survived ourselves. If there's one thing humans know how to do, it's survive." "Show us your weapons," Thex demanded. Dayun stepped forward. She placed several items on the table: chemical explosives, kinetic rifles, blade weapons, simple, crude things compared to the Council's energy weapons. "These are primitive," Thex said with disgust. "They're reliable," Dayun replied calmly. "They work in any environment. They don't need power cells. They don't fail when hit with electromagnetic pulses, and they hurt just as badly as a plasma bolt." "We didn't come here to replace your technology," Jiho added. "We came to fight alongside you. We use what works. Sometimes the old ways work best." Morven studied the human commander. There was something in his eyes, a hardness, a certainty. This was someone who had seen terrible things and survived them. "Tell us about Earth," Morvan said. "Tell us about humanity." Dr. Hyerin stepped forward. She tapped her datapad and images filled the hologram. Cities of metal and glass, oceans covering most of a blue planet, forests and deserts and mountains. "Earth is what you call a death world," she began. "Everything there tries to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, even tiny organisms you can't see. But humans evolved there. We adapted, we learned. We built civilizations while fighting nature every single day." More images appeared. Humans fighting with primitive weapons. Humans in armor storming beaches. Humans flying through the sky in metal birds. Humans walking on a barren moon. "We've had thousands of wars," Hyerin continued. "We've killed billions of our own kind. We've nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. But we learned from it. We grew. We united. And when we finally reached the stars, we decided we were done fighting ourselves. We wanted to find others." "But you found nothing," Vextal said softly. "You found the silence." "Yes," Jiho said. "We thought we were alone. We searched for decades. We found ruins of old civilizations, but no living ones. We thought perhaps we were too late, that everyone else was gone." He looked around the chamber. "Then we heard your call, and we knew we had to come. Because if there's still life in this galaxy, it's worth saving." "Pretty words," Thex said. "But the Hive doesn't care about words." "No," Jiho agreed. "They care about survival, just like us. The difference is, humans have fought for survival our entire existence. We're very, very good at it." "Prove it," Thex challenged. Jiho nodded. "Give us your data. Everything you have on the Hive. Their tactics, their biology, their weaknesses. Let us study them, then let us fight them. If we fail, you've lost nothing. If we succeed, maybe we buy you time to evacuate. Either way, we're here now. We're not leaving." Morvan looked at the human commander for a long moment. Then he looked at the hologram showing the red dots spreading across the galaxy. They had nothing left to lose. "Very well," Morvan said. "The data is yours. Show us what humans can do." Jiho bowed slightly. "We'll do our best. That's all any species can do." As the humans left the chamber, Vextal turned to Morvan. "Do you think they can make a difference?" "I don't know," Morvan admitted. "But I think we're about to find out if the legends were true, or if they were warnings." In the corridor, Dayun walked beside Jiho. "They think we're going to fail," she said quietly. "Let them think that," Jiho replied. "We've been underestimated before. It usually works in our favor. Sunwoo grinned. Besides, they haven't seen what angry humans can do yet. Hyerin looked worried. We're only 5 against an endless swarm. Even for us, this seems impossible. Jiho stopped walking. He looked at each of them. Impossible is just another word for something humans haven't done yet. Let's get to work. The humans had been on Unity Spire for 3 days. In that time, they had become the most talked-about topic in the entire station. Everyone wanted to see the legendary species that had appeared from nowhere. Everyone had opinions. Most of those opinions were disappointment. "They're so small," one soldier said in the mess hall. "I've seen juvenile Krell bigger than their largest warrior." "And weak," another agreed. "No claws, no armor, no natural weapons at all. How did they survive on their own planet?" General Thex shared these opinions. He watched the humans through the observation window as they worked in the data center. Commander Jiho and Dr. Hyerin had spent every waking hour studying the hive information. They barely slept. They barely ate. They just worked. "Obsessive," Thex muttered. "That's all they are. Obsessive little creatures who won't admit they're out of their depth." His aide, a young officer named Kelvan, stood beside him. "Sir, the Chancellor wants you to give them a chance. They came a long way." "They came to die," Thex said flatly. "Better they learn that now in a training exercise than in real battle where they could get actual soldiers killed." He activated his communicator. "Commander Jiho, this is General Thex. Report to Training Base 7 in 1 hour. Bring your combat specialist." Jiho's voice came back immediately. "Understood, General. We'll be there." 1 hour later, Thex stood in the center of the training bay. It was a large room with padded floors and walls. Combat training happened here daily. Today a crowd had gathered. Word had spread that the humans were going to demonstrate their fighting ability. The doors opened. Lieutenant Daeun walked in. She wore simple clothes, not even armor. Her black hair was pulled back. She looked even smaller in the large training bay. "You wanted to see what humans can do," she said calmly. "I'm ready." Thex gestured to 3 of his best soldiers. Each was twice her size. Each had natural weapons, claws, and strength that could tear metal. "Defeat them," he said. "Without weapons. Hand-to-hand only." Daeun didn't hesitate. "Rules." "Don't kill them," Thex said. "Everything else is acceptable." She nodded. She walked to the center of the room. The 3 soldiers surrounded her. They grinned. This would be quick. The first soldier lunged. Daeun moved like water. She stepped inside his reach, grabbed his arm, and used his own momentum to throw him across the room. He hit the wall with a heavy thud. The second soldier attacked from behind. Daeun dropped low, swept his legs, and as he fell, she struck pressure points on his neck. He collapsed, gasping. The third soldier was more careful. He circled her, looking for an opening. Daeun waited. When he finally attacked, she didn't dodge. She moved forward, into the attack. Her elbow struck his chest. Her knee hit his leg. Her hand struck his throat. 3 moves. He fell. The entire fight lasted less than 30 seconds. The room was silent. Daeun helped each soldier to their feet. "Good instincts," she told them, "but you rely too much on strength. Strength fails when you meet someone stronger. Technique never fails." Thex stared. "Again," he ordered. 5 soldiers this time." Daeun fought 5 soldiers, then 7, then 10. Each time she won, not because she was stronger, not because she was faster, but because she understood leverage, momentum, and weak points. She turned their advantages into disadvantages. By the end, even Thex had to admit he was impressed. Grudgingly impressed, but impressed nonetheless. "Fighting one-on-one is different from war," he said. "True," Jiho agreed. He had been watching from the side. "Would you like to see tactical abilities instead?" "Yes," Thex said. Show me how humans plan battle. They moved to the strategy center. Holographic displays showed simulated battles. These were training scenarios based on real hive attacks. Every council commander had tried them. None had succeeded in stopping the hive advance. Jiho studied the display for several minutes. Then he started giving orders. His approach was strange. He didn't try to meet the hive head-on. Instead, he divided his forces into small groups. He sacrificed territory to attack supply lines. He used the terrain against the enemy. He retreated when winning and attacked when losing. Nothing followed standard military doctrine. Thex watched the simulation play out. The hive forces were confused by the unusual tactics. They adapted, but by the time they did, Jiho had changed tactics again. The simulated human fleet won with minimal losses. "Impossible," Thex said. "Run it again." The computer made an error. They ran it 5 more times. Jiho won 4 times. The 5th time, he fought to a draw. "How?" Thex demanded. "This violates every principle of warfare." "No," Jiho corrected gently. "It violates every principle of council warfare. Human warfare is different. We learned to fight ourselves for thousands of years. We learned that the enemy's greatest weakness is their expectations. If you do what they expect, you lose. If you do what they don't expect, you win." Dr. Hyeron stepped forward. "May I show you something, General?" She pulled up data on human history. Images of wars, battles, conflicts spanning thousands of years. Humans fought with sticks and stones, then with metal swords, then with gunpowder weapons, then with machines, then with nuclear weapons that could destroy entire cities. She paused. "We survived all of it. We learned from all of it." More images appeared. Humans in thick suits working in toxic environments. Humans in thin suits walking in the vacuum of space. Humans living in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. "Adaptation," Hyeron continued. "That's what makes humans different. We can live anywhere, fight anywhere, think in ways that don't follow patterns. The hive adapts to what they encounter. But humans adapt before the encounter. We imagine the worst and prepare for it." "Words," Thex said, but his voice was less certain now. "Simulations and demonstrations. Real war is different." "You're right," Jiho agreed. "So let us prove ourselves in real war. Send us somewhere. Anywhere the hive is attacking, let us fight." Before Thex could respond, an alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed. An automated voice announced, "Hive attack detected. Sector 12, Valcor Colony. All available ships respond." Thex's face went hard. "Valcor Colony has 3 million people. It's lightly defended. They won't last long." He looked at Jiho. "You want to prove yourselves? Fine. Take your ship. Go to Valcor. Try to help. We'll send reinforcements when we can." "Understood," Jiho said. He tapped his communicator. "All crew, return to the Wanderer immediately. We launch in 10 minutes. As the humans rushed out, Thex turned to Kelvin. "How long until our reinforcements arrive at Valcor?" 6 hours, sir. The colony will be gone by then." Thex looked at the display showing the Wanderer preparing to launch. So will the humans. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Engineer Sunwoo was solving a different problem. The station's main reactor had been malfunctioning for weeks. Council engineers had tried everything. They had replaced parts, recalibrated systems, run diagnostics. Nothing worked. The reactor's efficiency was dropping daily. Sunwoo had asked to look at it. The chief engineer, an old Velkin named Tormas, had reluctantly agreed. Now Tormas watched as the young human crawled through maintenance shafts that were barely big enough for him. "The problem is here," Sunwoo called out. His voice echoed in the shaft. "The plasma flow regulator is installed backwards." "Impossible," Tormas said. "That would cause a complete shutdown. The reactor would fail immediately." Not if the secondary compensator is also backwards, Sunwoo replied. Two wrongs making a right. But they're fighting each other, wasting energy. I can fix it, but I need to shut down the reactor for 30 minutes. 30 minutes? Tormus was shocked. The replacement procedure takes 8 hours. You can't possibly— I can, Sunwoo interrupted. Human engineers learn to work fast. We don't always have the right parts or the right tools. We improvise. Trust me. Tormus had no better option. Do it. 28 minutes later, the reactor came back online. Efficiency was at 105%, better than it had been in years. Tormus stared at the readings. How did you know the regulators were backwards? Sunwoo climbed out of the shaft, covered in grease. Because it's exactly the kind of mistake humans would make. Put something in wrong, fix the symptoms instead of the cause, then forget about it. I've seen it 100 times on Earth ships. But this is Velkin technology, Tormus protested. Completely different. Sunwoo smiled. Machinery is machinery. Energy flows follow rules. Those rules are the same everywhere. Once you understand the rules, the details don't matter. News of the reactor repair spread almost as fast as news of Daeun's fighting demonstration. Engineers throughout the station started asking Sunwoo questions. How would he solve this problem? What about that issue? He had answers for everything. But there was no time to enjoy the success. The call came through. Valcor Colony needed help. The Wanderer was launching. As the human ship left Unity Spire, Hyerin stood on the bridge next to Jiho. They still don't believe in us, she said quietly. They will, Jiho replied, watching the stars ahead. After Valcor, they'll believe. And if we fail? Then we die trying. Either way, they'll remember us. The Wanderer jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward a colony that was about to be destroyed, racing toward humanity's first real test. Back on Unity Spire, Thex stood in the command center watching the ship disappear. Vextal joined him. Do you think they have a chance? The old ambassador asked. No, Thex said honestly, but I hope I'm wrong. For all our sakes, I hope I'm wrong. The Wanderer dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Valcor system. What Jiho saw made his blood run cold. The colony was dying. 17 hive ships surrounded the planet, each one the size of a city block. Smaller attack craft swarmed like insects, thousands of them. On the planet's surface, fires burned. Even from orbit, Jiho could see the destruction spreading. How many colonists? He asked quietly. 3 million, Hyerin answered. Her voice was tight. Life signs are dropping. 2.8 million now. 2.7. They're dying fast. Jiho looked at his crew. The Wanderer was a small ship with a crew of only 40. They had 4 support ships, each with crews of 10. In total, 90 humans against 17 massive hive vessels and thousands of attack craft. Tactical analysis, he ordered. Daeun studied the displays. The hive ships are in standard swarm formation. They're focused on the planet, not watching their perimeter. The attack craft follow predetermined patterns. No creativity, just overwhelming numbers. Weaknesses? They communicate through biological signals. If we disrupt the command ship, the others will take time to reorganize. Maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute. That's not enough time to destroy 17 ships, Lieutenant Minho said from the pilot station. He was young, barely 25, but he was the best pilot Earth had ever produced. We don't need to destroy them all, Jiho said. We just need to make them leave. Hyerin, what do we know about hive psychology? The doctor pulled up data. They're efficient. They calculate cost versus benefit for everything. If defending this colony becomes too expensive, they'll withdraw and attack an easier target. So we make it expensive, Jiho said. He activated the ship-wide communication. All hands, this is Commander Jiho. We're heavily outnumbered. Standard tactics won't work, so we're going to do what humans do best. We're going to cheat. He outlined his plan. It was insane. It relied on perfect timing, incredible luck, and the enemy not expecting what was about to happen. In other words, it was a very human plan. Minho, take us in. Maximum stealth. Stay in the debris field. The pilot grinned. You want me to fly through an asteroid field while avoiding thousands of enemy ships? Yes. That's crazy. I love it. The Wanderer slipped into the system, moving between chunks of rock and ice. The debris field from a shattered moon provided cover. Minho flew the ship like he was dancing, sliding between asteroids with meters to spare, never following a predictable path. The hive ships didn't notice. They were too focused on the planet below. Approaching command ship, Minho said. Distance, 500 kilometers. Launch the package, Jiho ordered. From the Wanderer's cargo bay, a small object shot out. It looked like debris, just another piece of rock. It drifted toward the hive command ship, moving slowly, appearing harmless. Inside that rock was 10 tons of human explosives. Impact in 30 seconds, Daeun counted down. 20 seconds, 10, 5. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. The command ship didn't explode completely, but a massive hole appeared in its side. Atmosphere vented into space. Lights flickered and died. Now, Jiho shouted. The 4 support ships had been hiding in the debris field. Now they burst forward, targeting the hive ship's engines and weapons. They didn't try to destroy the ships. They just damaged them enough to make them vulnerable. The hive swarm reacted exactly as predicted. Without clear orders from the command ship, they paused. 30 seconds of confusion. 30 seconds of opportunity. Minho brought the Wanderer around. They targeted not the ships, but the thousands of smaller attack craft. Kinetic rounds, simple bullets made of metal, tore through the swarm. Each bullet hit with enough force to destroy one craft, sometimes 2 or 3 if they were lined up right. Why are their weapons so effective? Engineer Sun Wu called from the engine room. These are just basic projectiles. Because the hive evolved to defend against energy weapons, Hyeron explained. Their armor scatters plasma and absorbs lasers. But solid matter at high velocity? They're not ready for that. The hive adapted quickly. The command ship's backup systems came online. Orders went out. The swarm reorganized. But by then, the support ships had damaged 6 of the 17 vessels. The odds were getting better. They're pulling attack craft from the planet, Daeun reported, forming a defense screen. Good, Jiho said. That means fewer attacking the colonists. Minho, pattern Echo 7. Echo 7? Sir, that's a collision course with their largest ship. I know. Minho didn't hesitate. The Wanderer accelerated directly at the biggest hive vessel. It was suicide. Everyone knew it. The hive knew it too. They concentrated fire on the Wanderer. Energy weapons and bioplasma converged on the human ship. Then, at the last possible second, Minho spun the ship, used a nearby asteroid's gravity to slingshot around it. Changed direction by 90 degrees in an instant. The hive weapons hit empty space where the Wanderer had been a moment before. Better yet, those weapons hit the hive ship behind that empty space. Friendly fire. The large vessel shuddered under the impact. Humans! Minho laughed. We're too crazy to predict. The battle became chaos. The hive tried to use their standard tactics, overwhelm with numbers, focus fire on single targets, maintain formation. But the human ships wouldn't stay still. They used asteroids as shields and weapons. They flew patterns that made no sense. They shot at odd angles, targeting weak points that shouldn't have been exposed. Sergeant Nari led a boarding team. 30 Marines in armored suits launched from the Wanderer toward the damaged command ship. The hive tried to shoot them down, but the Marines used small thrusters to dodge, moving in 3 dimensions like dancers. They cut through the command ship's hull with plasma torches, poured inside. The hive warriors inside were deadly, with razor-sharp claws and acid spit. But the Marines were prepared. They fought in the tight corridors with shotguns and explosives. Close-quarters combat, brutal and fast. "Humans don't belong on ships," one Marine said, firing his weapon. "We evolved for ground fighting, so we bring ground fighting to space." Nari's team reached the command center. They didn't try to hold it. They planted explosives throughout the ship's critical systems and retreated. 3 minutes later, those explosives detonated. The command ship went completely dark. The hive swarm lost coordination again. This time for longer. 2 minutes of confusion. Jiho used every second. The human ships concentrated fire on the most damaged hive vessels. One by one, they forced the ships to retreat or destroyed them outright. 5 vessels gone, then 7, then 9. "Sir, Council reinforcements are arriving," Hyeron announced. Through the edge of the system, Council warships appeared. Dozens of them, much larger than the human ships. Admiral Drexus commanded the fleet. He had expected to find the colony destroyed and the human ship in ruins. Instead, he found 9 hive ships retreating or destroyed, 8 more damaged and disorganized, and 5 tiny human vessels still fighting. "What in the void happened here?" Drexus asked over the communication channel. "Humans happened," Jiho replied. His voice was calm despite the chaos around him. "Admiral, if you hit them now while they're confused, we can drive them off completely." Drexus didn't hesitate. His fleet charged in. With the hive coordination broken, the Council ships tore through them. Energy weapons and missiles destroyed ship after ship. The remaining hive vessels calculated the cost and decided it wasn't worth it. They retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speed and disappearing. Silence fell over the battlefield. The colony below was damaged, but alive. 2.3 million colonists had survived. Hundreds of thousands had died, but millions were saved. The Wanderer drifted among the debris, its hull scarred and smoking but intact. All 4 support ships survived. Casualties among the human crews, 12 wounded, 3 dead. The price of victory was written in human blood, but it was a victory. Admiral Drexus stared at his displays. His tactical officer showed him the battle data. What the humans had done was supposed to be impossible. 5 small ships against 17 large ones. They should have been destroyed in minutes. "Get me Commander Jiho," Drexus ordered. Jiho's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired. Blood stained his uniform. "Admiral." "How?" Drexus asked simply. "We used what we had," Jiho said. "We didn't have superior numbers or weapons, so we used surprise, terrain, and the enemy's expectations against them. It's not pretty. It's not honorable. But it works." "You fought like demons." "No," Jiho corrected. "We fought like humans. There's a difference. Demons enjoy destruction. Humans do what's necessary to protect those who can't protect themselves." Drexus looked at the planet below. "You saved 3 million lives today." "We saved 2.3 million, Jiho said quietly. 700,000 died before we could stop it. That's 700,000 failures, 700,000 people we were too late to save. You can't save everyone. Doesn't mean we don't try." The communication ended. Drexus turned to his officers. "Send a message to High Chancellor Morvan. Tell him the legends were wrong about humans." "Sir, the legends said humans were great warriors, strong and fearless." Drexus looked at the battered Wanderer on his screen. "They're not strong. They're fragile. Their ships are small. Their weapons are primitive. But they're stubborn. They refuse to accept defeat. They take impossible odds and find a way to win anyway." He paused. "The legends made them sound heroic. But what I saw today was something else, something scarier." "What's that, sir?" "Determination. Absolute terrifying determination. The hive is efficient and logical. They calculate and adapt. But humans?" He shook his head. "Humans don't calculate odds. They just fight. and they keep fighting until they win or die. On the Wanderer, the crew was treating wounds and repairing damage. Minho sat in his pilot seat, hands shaking from adrenaline. "We actually won," he said in disbelief. "We survived," Dayun corrected. "Winning would mean no one died." Hyerin was in the medical bay. 3 humans had died in the boarding action. She looked at their covered bodies and felt the weight of command. They had volunteered. They had known the risks, but that didn't make it easier. Jiho found her there. He didn't say anything. Just stood beside her. "Was it worth it?" she asked. "Ask the 2.3 million colonists," he replied. "And are 3 dead? Ask them too. I think they'd say yes." Unity Spire received the battle reports. General Thex read them 3 times, not believing what he saw. Then he watched the video footage from Admiral Drexus's fleet. He watched the tiny human ships dance through impossible odds. Watched them fight with weapons that shouldn't have worked. Watched them refuse to give up even when logic said they should. Kelvin stood beside him. "Sir, what do we do now?" Thex was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "We learn. If humans can do this with 5 small ships, imagine what they could do with an entire fleet. Imagine what we could do if we learned their tactics." "You want to work with them?" "No," Thex said slowly. "I want to become more like them." 6 months had passed since the Battle of Valcor. The galaxy was changing. In the Council military headquarters, General Hyerin stood before a holographic map. She had been promoted from doctor to general, leading the new joint task force. Humans and aliens training together, fighting together, learning from each other. The map showed victories, 13 systems reclaimed from the hive, 24 successful defensive actions. For the first time in years, the red dots on the map were shrinking instead of growing. But the cost was high. Every victory was bought with blood. Human and alien bodies floated in space after every battle. Each win felt smaller than it should because of what it took to achieve it. "General Hyerin," an aide said, "the council session is about to begin." She straightened her uniform and walked to the council chamber. It was very different from 6 months ago. Now the room was full. Representatives had returned as hope grew. New species had joined, wanting to be part of the fight against the hive. But not everyone was happy. "The human methods are too brutal," Representative Korval argued. He was a Velkin, a species known for philosophy and careful thought. "They teach our soldiers to sacrifice positions, to retreat, to accept losses. This is not how civilized beings fight." "Civilized beings were losing," Hyerin replied calmly. "Human methods work. The numbers prove it." "Numbers," Korval's voice rose. "Yes, we win more battles. But at what cost to our souls? You teach soldiers to see war as mathematics. So many deaths here save more lives there. You make killers of our people." In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Sora stood up. She was human, assigned to handle diplomatic relations. "With respect, Representative Korval, humans don't make killers. The hive does that. We just teach people how to survive when killing becomes necessary." "Survival at any price is not living," Korval said. "It's merely existing. If we adopt human methods completely, what separates us from the hive? They also do whatever is necessary to survive." "The difference is choice," another voice said. General Thex entered the chamber. Over the months, he had become humanity's strongest supporter. "The hive has no choice. They consume or die. Humans choose when to fight and when to show mercy. I've seen it." He activated a hologram. It showed a recent battle at Kelson Station. Human forces had cornered a hive warrior unit. Instead of killing them, the humans had opened an escape route. Let them flee. "Why?" Thex continued. "Because those hive warriors were cut off from the main swarm. They were confused, disoriented, no longer a threat. Humans could have killed them easily. Instead, they showed mercy. That's the difference. Humans know when to fight and when to stop fighting." One example doesn't excuse everything, Corval said. I've read the reports. The tactics humans teach are disturbing. False retreats to lure enemies into traps. Feints and deception. Fighting dirty, they call it. We call it winning, Hyeron said. And yes, it's not clean. War never is. But we don't fight to be noble. We fight to end the war as quickly as possible with the fewest total deaths. Sometimes that means doing things that feel wrong to save lives in the long run. The debate went on for hours. Some species supported the human methods completely. Others wanted them banned. Most were somewhere in the middle, uncomfortable but seeing results. High Chancellor Morvan finally raised his hand for silence. The Council will vote on this matter in 1 month. Until then, human training will continue. But there will be oversight. We must balance effectiveness with our values. After the session, Sora found Hyeron in a quiet corridor. That was rough, she said. It'll get worse, Hyeron replied. We're changing how they see war. That scares them. It should scare them. It scares us too. Do you think they'll vote to stop human involvement? Maybe. Probably not completely, but they might limit what we can teach. Hyeron looked tired. The problem is we're too effective. When you're losing, you'll accept any help. When you start winning, you remember your principles. Across the galaxy, tactician Junho was dealing with different problems. He had been assigned to train council officers in human strategic thinking. The classroom held 40 students from 20 different species. Most were struggling. No, 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 Junho said, frustrated. He pointed at the tactical simulation one student had created. You're still thinking in straight lines. The enemy does this, you do that. War doesn't work like that. Then how does it work? The student asked. Chaos, Junho replied. War is chaos. The enemy doesn't follow your plan. They have their own plan. So you need to think in possibilities, not certainties. You need to imagine what could go wrong and prepare for all of it. He changed the simulation. Look, your fleet enters the system here. You assume the enemy will defend this position because it's strategically important, but what if they don't? What if they let you take it and trap you there? What if the strategic position is bait? But why would they give up valuable territory? To win, Junho said simply. Humans learned something over thousands of years of war. Territory doesn't matter. Resources don't matter. The only thing that matters is breaking the enemy's ability to fight. Everything else is negotiable. One student, a Krell named Vox, raised his hand. This sounds like you value nothing. No honor, no tradition, no sacred ground worth defending. We value winning and ending the war, Junho replied. We value the lives saved by winning quickly. As for sacred ground, he smiled sadly. Humans have plenty of sacred places on Earth. Museums, monuments, cities with thousands of years of history. If defending them meant losing the war and letting all of humanity die, we'd abandon them without hesitation. You can rebuild cities. You can't bring back extinct species. That's cold. That's survival. And it's honest. The Hive doesn't care about your honor. They don't care about your traditions. They care about consuming you. So you need to care about stopping them. Everything else comes after. The lessons continued, but Junho could feel the resistance. Some students embraced human thinking. Others rejected it completely. Most were confused, caught between what they had always believed and what they now needed to do. Meanwhile, the Hive was learning too. In the dark spaces between stars, the Hive Empress studied the data from dozens of battles. She was ancient, connected to billions of drones through psychic links. She had consumed 1,000 worlds and destroyed hundreds of civilizations. But humans were different. The Hive operated on predictable patterns. Identify target, assess resources, attack with overwhelming force, consume, move to next target. Efficient, logical. Humans broke the pattern. They attacked when they should retreat. They defended positions with no strategic value and abandoned important ones. They used weapons that should be obsolete. They fought with tactics that made no logical sense, yet they won. The Empress made a decision. The Hive would adapt. Instead of spreading across many targets, they would concentrate forces. Instead of following patterns, they would create new ones. They would fight humans the way humans fought everything else, with unpredictability. She sent new commands through the swarm. 20 Hive fleets, each containing hundreds of ships, began to converge. Their target, the Council core worlds, not the edge colonies, not military stations, the heart of the Council itself. It was a gamble. If the attack failed, the Hive would lose decades of growth. But if it succeeded, the war would end. The Council would fall. Humans would be alone again, stranded in a dying galaxy. On Unity Spire, sensors detected the fleet movements. Alarms went silent as analysts tried to understand what they were seeing. "This can't be right," one analyst said. "It shows 20 Hive fleets moving in the same direction." "Toward us," another confirmed. "They're all coming here." High Chancellor Morvan stared at the display. 20 fleets, thousands of ships, the entire military strength of the Hive swarm, all focused on one attack. "How long until they arrive?" 2 weeks, maybe less if they push their engines. "Can we stop them?" Silence answered him. Everyone knew the answer. No. They couldn't stop 20 fleets. Even with human tactics, even with all their victories, this was too much. Morvan sent a priority message to all human forces. "Return to Unity Spire immediately. We need every ship, every soldier, every idea you have." Across multiple systems, human commanders received the message. They began the long journey back, knowing they were racing against time. Hyaron stood in the strategy center surrounded by holograms. She had called in every human tactician, every military mind. Junho was there. Jiho had arrived from the front lines. Thex represented the Council forces. "This is it," Yaren said quietly. "Everything the Hive has, all at once." "We can't win," Thex said, not with defeat but with honesty. "Our combined forces are maybe a third of what's coming." "Then we don't fight to win," Jiho said. "We fight to survive. We make it so expensive that even if they take Unity Spire, they'll be too weakened to continue." "You're talking about a last stand," Thex said. "I'm talking about buying time. If the Council falls, there needs to be someone left to rebuild. We evacuate civilians. We prepare fallback positions. We fight like cornered animals because that's what we are." Junho studied the projections. "There might be another option, a crazy one, very human." "Tell us," Hyaron ordered. "We don't defend Unity Spire," Junho said. "We attack their home system, all of it, every human ship, every weapon we have. We hit the Hive Empress directly." The room went silent. "That's suicide," someone finally said. "Probably," Junho agreed. "But think about it. The Hive operates through central control. The Empress coordinates everything. If we kill her, the entire swarm collapses into chaos, maybe forever." "We'd have to go through their home defenses," Thex said. "We don't even know how many ships guard their core system." "At least 1,000, Jiho said. "Maybe more. But those ships are static defenders. They've never fought. They've just sat there for centuries protecting the Empress." "You're actually considering this," Morvan said. He had entered the room silently. "Yes," Yaren replied, "because the alternative is watching billions die while we fight a defensive battle we can't win. At least this way, if we die making them pay the highest price possible." Morvan looked around the room. "This goes against everything the Council believes. We defend. We protect. We don't launch genocidal attacks." "It's not genocide," Sora said quietly. "The Hive Empress is their command structure. Without her, the Hive drones become individuals. They might stop fighting entirely. They might form new, smaller swarms that don't need to consume everything. We're not killing a species, we're breaking a chain of command." "Semantics," Morvan said. Maybe, Sora agreed. But it's also truth. And it's our only real chance. The Chancellor looked at each person in the room. Humans and aliens, all of them knowing this might be the last decision they ever make. If we do this, Morvan said slowly, the Council will split. Half our species will refuse to participate. They'll call it barbaric, inhuman. They'd be right, Hieron said. It is inhuman, but humans learned a long time ago that sometimes you have to become a monster to stop a bigger monster. We'll carry that weight. We always have. Morvan closed his eyes. How long do we have to decide? 2 days, Junho said. After that, we won't have time to get our forces in position. Then we vote in 2 days, Morvan said. Council session, full assembly. This is too big for me to decide alone. As people left the strategy center, Thex pulled Jiho aside. Do you really think this will work? No, Jiho admitted. I think we're all going to die. But I'd rather die fighting than hiding. Very human, Thex said. Very alive, Jiho corrected. Any species that wants to survive learns this eventually. The only question is whether we learn it in time. The vote was close. Very close. Out of the Council's 147 member species, 73 voted to approve Operation Homecoming. That was exactly 1 vote more than needed. 74 species refused to participate or actively oppose the plan. They called it barbaric, genocidal, against everything civilized beings should stand for. But 73 said yes. 73 species were willing to try. Those who voted yes did so quietly. No speeches, no celebrations. They knew what they were approving. They knew the cost in lives and in conscience. High Chancellor Morvan gave the order. All forces that are willing, proceed to Rally Point Epsilon. Prepare for jump to Hive territory. May whatever gods you believe in forgive us for what we're about to do. 3 days later, the fleet assembled. It was smaller than anyone wanted. 30 human ships, 400 council vessels from the species that agreed to fight, against possibly thousands defending the Hive home system. But quality mattered too. These were the best ships, the best crews. Veterans who had fought the Hive for months or years, survivors who had learned from every battle. Fleet Admiral Jiho stood on the bridge of the Wanderer. Around him, displays showed the assembled fleet. So many different ship designs, so many different species, all united by one goal: end the war. Dr. Hieron worked at her science station. Final analysis complete, she said. We've identified the Hive home system location from captured data. It's deep in their territory. 5 jumps from here. Defenses? Unknown exactly, but based on energy signatures, at least 1,000 ships. Maybe 2,000, plus orbital defense platforms, plus ground-based weapons, plus the Empress herself, who has psychic abilities we don't fully understand. So, impossible odds, Lieutenant Dayun said. She was manning weapons. When has that stopped us? Pilot Minho asked with a grin. Jiho activated fleet-wide communication. All ships, this is Fleet Admiral Jiho. I won't lie to you. Most of us are probably going to die today. The odds are terrible. The enemy is strong. But we're not doing this for glory. We're not doing this for revenge. We're doing this because if we don't, billions will die slowly over the next years as the Hive consumes the galaxy. This way, we end it. One way or another, we end it. He paused. For everyone who's already died, for everyone who's still alive, for the future, whatever it might be. Let's finish this. Across 400 ships, crews prepared themselves in their own ways. Some prayed, some checked weapons one more time, some wrote final messages to families they might never see again. General Thex commanded a wing of Council heavy cruisers. He had volunteered immediately when the vote passed. Now he looked at his crew. aliens who had learned to think like humans, to fight like humans, to accept that sometimes the only way forward was through darkness. "General," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a message from the 74 species who refuse to participate. They want to speak to you." "Put it through." Representative Corval appeared on screen. "General Thex, please reconsider. This attack violates every principle of civilized warfare. You'll be remembered as butchers if you go through with this." "Maybe," Thex replied calmly. "Or we'll be remembered as the ones who ended the war. History will judge. Right now, I have a job to do. We're pleading with you. There must be another way. If you find one in the next 5 minutes, let me know. Otherwise, we jump." The communication ended. Thex turned to his crew. "Anyone want to back out? Last chance. No judgment." No one moved. No one spoke. They had all made their choice. "Good," Thex said. "Prepare for jump." The fleet jumped together, entering faster than light speed. 5 jumps, 5 chances for the hive to detect them and prepare. But they had one advantage: speed. They weren't sneaking in. They were charging in as fast as their engines could push them. Jump 1, nothing. Empty space. Jump 2. Hive patrol detected them. 3 ships. The fleet destroyed them before they could send a full warning. Jump 3. More patrols. This time, 20 ships. A brief fight. The fleet won but took first casualties. 5 council ships badly damaged, forced to retreat. Jump 4. The hive was ready now. A defensive fleet of 100 ships waited. The battle was savage. Humans used every trick they had learned: feints, traps, false retreats. Council forces backed them up with overwhelming firepower. They broke through but lost 30 ships. Jump 5. The hive home system. What greeted them was terrifying. 2,000 ships in defensive formation. Orbital weapons platforms around every planet. The system was a fortress. Nothing should be able to break through. "Well," Minho said quietly, "they definitely don't want visitors." "Analysis," Jiho ordered. Junho worked frantically at his station. "The Empress is on the 3rd planet. We need to reach that planet and breach its defenses. The problem is the ship formation is designed to prevent exactly that." "Then we don't go through the formation," Hyaron said. "We go under it." She displayed her plan. The system had a massive gas giant. Its gravity well was enormous. Ships normally avoided it because the gravitational forces could tear vessels apart. Humans, of course, had different ideas about what was possible. "We use the gas giant as a slingshot," Hyaron explained. "We dive in close, use gravity to accelerate to incredible speed, then shoot out toward the 3rd planet. We'll be going so fast the hive ships won't be able to adjust in time." "We'll also be going so fast we can't adjust in time," Thex pointed out. "If we miscalculate by a fraction, we slam into the planet at fatal velocity." "I said it was a human plan," Hyaron replied. Jiho made the decision. "We're doing it. All ships, follow the Wanderer. Stay in formation. Trust your pilots." The fleet dove toward the gas giant. Hive ships tried to intercept, but they were too slow. The council vessels followed human ships into what should have been certain death. Minho flew the Wanderer like he was born for this moment. The ship skimmed the gas giant's upper atmosphere, closer than any ship should go. Gravity grabbed them, pulled them. The ship groaned under the strain. Then they shot out the other side like stones from a slingshot. Velocity, impossible. Direction, straight toward the 3rd planet. Behind them, the fleet followed. Some ships calculated wrong and were torn apart by gravity. Others made it through. 300 ships became 250. Still, they had made it past the main defense fleet. "Orbital defenses activating," Diane reported. "They're targeting us." "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Jiho ordered. "But keep heading toward the planet." The orbital platforms fired. Energy weapons and missiles filled space. Ships exploded. The fleet's numbers dropped. 250 became 200. Then 150. but they were almost there. "I'm taking us into the atmosphere," Minho said. "Everyone hold on." The Wanderer, designed for space combat, dove into the planet's atmosphere. It wasn't designed for this. The hull heated up. Alarms blared. But Minho kept them controlled, angling for the energy signature that marked the Empress's location. Around them, other ships followed. Some burned up, others crash-landed, but dozens made it to the surface. Sergeant Nari led the ground forces, every human marine, plus volunteers from 20 alien species. They deployed from ships that were barely functioning, hitting the ground in a hostile environment surrounded by millions of Hive warriors. "Just like training," Nari said to her troops, "except training had better odds." They fought through Hive forces toward the massive organic structure where the Empress resided. Every meter cost lives. Humans fell, aliens fell, but they kept pushing forward. Above, the remaining ships fought orbital platforms and the Hive defense fleet that had finally caught up. It was chaos, complete, total chaos, which meant the humans felt right at home. Fleet Admiral Jiho watched the battle unfold. They had lost so many ships, so many people, but they were close now. The ground forces were within a kilometer of the Empress. Then something changed. The Hive warriors stopped fighting, all of them, simultaneously. They stood still, weapons lowered. "What's happening?" Dayun asked. "The Empress," Hyerin breathed. "She wants to talk." A voice filled every human and alien mind. Ancient, powerful, alien in ways that made human thought seem simple. "Humans," the Empress communicated, not in words but in concepts that translated differently for each person. "You fight like us. Survival at any cost. No mercy. No hesitation." Jiho responded, somehow knowing she would hear his thoughts. "We fight to end fighting. You fight to continue forever. That's the difference." "Is it?" the Empress asked. "You came to kill me, to destroy the center of the Hive. How is that different from what we do to your species?" "Because we'll stop," Jiho said. "When you're gone, when the threat is ended, we'll stop. We won't consume everything. We won't spread across the galaxy eating everything in our path. We'll go home. We'll rebuild. We'll try to be better than we were." Silence. The Empress was thinking, calculating, understanding something she had never understood before. "You truly would stop," she said, wonder in her mental voice. "You could spread across this galaxy, consume, dominate, but you would choose not to." "Yes," Jiho said simply. "Show me." Jiho found himself standing before the Empress. Not physically. This was a mental space, a shared consciousness. The Empress was massive, ancient beyond human understanding, connected to billions of drones. "We can't coexist," Jiho said. "Your species consumes ours. One of us has to stop." "Or both of us change," the Empress replied. "The Hive has consumed for millions of years. It's all we know. But you've shown us something new. You've shown us that choice exists. That survival doesn't require endless consumption. You could choose to stop? The Hive can adapt to anything. Why not adapt to peace?" The Empress paused. "But my drones need food. They need resources. We can't simply stop existing." "Then take what you need, not everything that exists," Jiho suggested. "Take from dead systems, from asteroids, from places where no one lives. Leave the living worlds alone." The Empress considered this. To humans, it seemed obvious. To the Hive, it was revolutionary. "If we do this," the Empress finally said, "if we choose this new path, we'll be weak. Other hives might attack us. Other species might see us as prey. Then we'll help you," Jiho said. "The Council will help you. That's what allies do." "Allies!" The Empress tested the concept. Not food, not enemy. "Allies!" "Yes." The mental connection broke. Jiho found himself back on the bridge of the Wanderer. Around him, his crew stared. "Sir," The hive forces are retreating, Daeun reported. All of them. They're leaving the system. The Empress? Hyerin asked. She's alive, Jiho said, and she wants to talk. Real talks, treaties, peace. The news spread through the fleet. Disbelief, joy, confusion. They had come to end the hive through violence. Instead, they were ending the war through conversation. Some were angry. They had lost friends, family. They wanted revenge, not peace, but most were simply relieved. It was over. Over the next weeks, negotiations happened. The hive agreed to restrict their feeding to uninhabited systems. They would share technology in exchange for help defending their new territory. They would release all captured individuals who still lived. The 74 species that had refused to fight demanded the Empress stand trial for war crimes. Jiho refused on humanity's behalf. You can't have it both ways, he told the council. You can't refuse to fight and then demand we punish the enemy. We fought. We risked everything. We made the peace. Now you live with the peace we made. The debate raged, but in the end, the treaty stood. The hive became members of the council under probationary status. It would take generations to build real trust, but it was a start. Ambassador Sora stood in the council chamber 3 months after the battle. The room was full again. All 147 species present, including one very uncomfortable hive representative. History will remember this time, Sora said. Some will remember human brutality. Others will remember human mercy. Both are true. We came to this galaxy as legends, myths from the past. We leave as partners in the future. Not perfect, not pure, but real. And that's what you needed. Not legends, not heroes, just humans, with all our flaws and strengths. High Chancellor Morvan spoke last. The question facing this council is, what now? Humanity has saved us. What does that mean for the future? Captain Jiho, retired from military service but present as Earth's representative, stood. It means we stop treating each other as legends or monsters. We're just people, different species, but all people trying to survive, trying to build something better. The war is over. Now comes the harder part, building peace. In the years that followed, things changed slowly. Humans taught tactics and engineering. Aliens taught philosophy and patience. The hive learned to live without consuming, finding satisfaction in creation rather than destruction. Some conflicts remained. Some species never forgave the hive. Some never trusted humans, but most found a way forward together. Dr. Hyerin wrote in her final log entry, now teaching at a council university, "We came when called. We fought when needed. We stopped when possible. That's all humanity ever was. Not gods, not monsters. Just people who adapted to whatever the universe threw at us. The legends made us sound larger than life. The truth is simpler and somehow more impressive. We were treated like legends. Then we arrived, and we were exactly what we needed to be, human." On Unity Spire, a memorial was built. It listed every name of every person who died in the war, human and alien together, millions of names, a reminder of the cost of survival. But next to the memorial, a new structure rose, a school where children of all species learned together, where former enemies became friends, where the future was being built, one generation at a time. Jiho visited sometimes. He would look at the names of the 3 crew members who died at Valcor, the 12 wounded in that first battle, the thousands who fell in the final assault on the Hive home system. Was it worth it? Someone asked him once. He looked at the school, watched human children playing with Hive drones that had been freed from the collective consciousness, saw aliens laughing with humans, witnessed a galaxy learning to live together. "Ask them," he said, pointing to the children. "They'll tell you." And in the end, that was the real victory. Not the battles won, not the enemies defeated, but the future built from the ashes of war. A future where legends became real people, and real people became something better than legends. They became partners. They became friends. They became hope.